What is going on, guys? Just a quick piece of advice for people who are struggling with the shooting meter. Now, I'm not giving you advice coming from somebody who's great at shooting. Trust me, that's not the case. I'm not a good shooter in this. I've been struggling for years with the shot meter, but I will tell you how to get better. I've gotten better. What you want to do is you want to go to this mode here. This is one thing you can do. And you see where it says hot zones? You want to see where your hot zones are. And you want to practice the shot meter in cold zones with players that are not good shooters. That's what you want to do. You want to create a bad scenario for shooting. As you can see, I green lighted that one. Because what you want to do, you want to get your shots at the best possible shooting that you can get. And you're going to do that by practicing shooting with guys in cold areas. Because the objective, what I'm saying is, if you can shoot really well, not really well, but if you can shoot good with guys in bad areas, then you play the game with guys in hot areas, your shooting is going to be very good, as you can see. And I'm not super familiar with this guy, but I've been practicing with him only in blue areas only, not in red areas. As you can see, he doesn't have a lot of red because he's like an inside kind of player. He has some neutral areas, of course. But that's what I've been doing, practicing shooting in blue areas only. And apparently, and what I've noticed is if guys don't really shoot three-pointers, they won't call that a blue area. Like, I was using an old Shaquille O'Neal in this, and they did not consider the blue a cold area because they won't consider it a cold area if you don't shoot out there. Even though it is a cold area, they won't call it that because he doesn't shoot out there. So let's go back in the blue area, and that's what I've been doing. I've been practicing a lot in blue areas. And when I play the game, my shot overall shooting is a lot better. And I'm using analog almost every time now. I'm not using the square button at all. And this guy, man, he seems to have a lot of blue. Because you don't want to practice in red areas. That's because I think you can get deceived like that. You want to see how well you can shoot in cold areas. Create bad scenario shooting and see how well you can do in the bad scenarios. And then when you're playing the game, look for good scenarios. Basically what I'm saying is, if I can shoot with this guy in cold areas, then what am I going to do with Steph Curry in hot areas? I'm going to do really well. You know, so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm basically practicing in cold areas. Not necessarily have to be this guy. And I'm not using this guy all the time. I'm using different people. And as you can see, I've gotten way better, and I've been doing this a lot. And I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to continue to practice this here. Because if you cannot shoot in this game, if you're struggling with the shooting, you will not enjoy this game at all. It's going to really be a miserable, irritating experience. This can help you no matter what mode you play in, whether you play My Career online or anything. Because if you have a 60 overall player, your guy is going to be a horrible shooter anyway. Worse than this guy is. In the blue area, he's going to be awful. So you definitely want to do this. I would even go further than that and use somebody worse. Now, if you use an old Shaquille O'Neal player, like the 93, 94 Shaquille O'Neal, because he's an option in this. And as you can see, you still don't make all of them. You still miss some of them. You know, they don't want to give you that green fire in that cold area. I don't care. I would still keep practicing in those areas with those guys, those bad players, or not bad players, but players who are bad in that area, and practice there. Some people may, but when you play the game, if you really use that player, you avoid shooting in that area. You want to keep your players in the hot and neutral zones. Like, as long as it's not blue, like right here, you can shoot there easily. You know, the neutral zones almost feel like hot zones sometimes, but the blue areas is where you're going to struggle the most. So, yeah, that's my tip for people who are struggling with shooting. Go to practice. Don't use your favorite player. Use somebody who has a lot of blue, a lot of cold zones, and use the shot meter in that cold zone. And like I said, if you can shoot well in cold zones, then you're going to shoot very well in hot zones with much better players. And I would practice with the square and analog. I noticed the outside shooting is better with the analog, but just to know what you're, just so you could be better at the game overall, I would use square too. I would use both and do most of your practicing in the cold areas. That's for people who are struggling with shooting, and I am struggling a lot. But like I said, the last few games I've played a lot better.